Hello, my lovely three-dimensional designers. Dell here, back with another video on working with your Project 3 clay sculpture heads. Now, this video is going to be a little shorter than the last one. I'm not actually going to go all the way through the process of finishing this sculpture because that would be a lot for you to watch. Instead, I'm just going to show you some of the basic shaping techniques that you need, and you can hopefully apply those to whatever you need to within your own piece. As always, in class, if you have specific questions, please call me over and I'll be happy to help you one-on-one. The first thing you will want to do is smooth out surfaces on your sculpture. Your sculpture's had a week to cure now. It should feel a little bit drier, but it will probably have some lumps and bumps and dips on the surface. So you see me here using my wooden rib tool and my fingers to smooth out the surface of the clay. If I have little dips, as you see on the bottom of the neck here, I'll score and slip those and take a little soft clay right out of the bag and smooth that into any imperfections on the surface. When you have nice soft clay right out of the bag and you're smoothing it flat and putting some pressure on it, there's less need to obsessively slip both surfaces, but you'll still want to score and slip your actual head sculpture because it's gotten a little drier. So it takes some time sometimes to work around your sculpture and get all of these things in. You see me doing it bit by bit with the neck here. Again, identifying those indentations, filling those with clay, smoothing them with my fingers, adding a little moisture where necessary, and of course using the rib tool. Now that I've got the neck smoothed out, I'm going to start to do the same thing to the face. There's a lot of rough areas on this face. I'll start out with using that rib tool, round side or straight side. Now I'm going to make some alterations to the structure of the face. So I'm going to score and slip along the cheekbone. If you look at my original drawing, it's got quite a stark, kind of gaunt, heavily cheekboned look. And I didn't quite capture that in my original block ends, so I'm going to add a little clay onto the surface in order to bring those areas out or in a little bit. Now, this may cause slightly thicker areas or slightly thinner areas in our hollow sculpture, but as long as we don't get crazy with it and add like 6 inches of clay on, we're still going to have a nice, evenly drying piece. Add a little bit more to the cheek here. You'll notice I score and slip on the surface of the sculpture because it's dry, but then I'm pushing this wet clay out of the bag into the surface and smoothing it over with my finger. Because we're getting into the refinement stage, I'm trying to smooth things out as I go rather than having to come back later and get rid of those lumps and bumps. In addition to building areas up, I may also want to carve some things out. I have to be a little careful because my slab is only 1/4 of an inch thick, and if I punch through, then I'll have to build up on the back. But I still have some territory to refine things through subtraction. So I'm using a tool on the screen called the loop tool or the trim tool. You have 2 of these in your clay set, actually, a larger one and a smaller one. And it is made to remove clay from the surface. See, I've carved out this jawline a little bit, and now I am smoothing between the clay I added and the clay I took away. Now you can leave texture on the surface of your sculpture. You absolutely do not have to smooth things out. Finger marks or carving texture, that's all totally fine. I just want kind of a smooth surface for the face of my sculpture because I'll eventually be carving those cracks into the crown of the top of the head and so forth. So sometimes you may want to use your sponge to smooth things out a little bit. Be a little careful with the sponge. Sometimes it can raise the grit within the clay, although this clay doesn't have a lot of grit to it. I actually find my fingers to be better smoothing tools. You'll notice I just sprayed the top. Any place that is an edge that comes in contact with the air is more likely to get dried out, so make sure you're re-wetting occasionally. Continuing to smooth things out. And it's kind of a back and forth. I've decided that I need to trim out just a little bit more and smooth it out. I'm trying to get the angle of things correct. So as you are fleshing out and refining your face, one thing that you want to think about is looking at your references and seeing not just where lines are drawn between features, but how those lines or divisions are created. So we don't have, for the most part, unless we have wrinkles, just lines drawn into our face. It's created where masses come together. So I'm working on this area between the cheek and the upper lip, and there's actually a directional change where the cheek comes around and rounds out, and then there's the sort of flatter plane of the top lip in there. So I'm using this wooden shaping tool to not only draw just a line in, because that's not going to be very satisfying visually, but to go back and forth and establish this is the direction of the plane or the surface of the form here on the cheek versus this is the direction of the plane on the top of the lip. If I get those right, I will automatically get a division or line between the two. It's the best way to really make something feel like a form rather than just a surface that you drew on. And it is important because form is part of what we're considering for this project. I'll find little areas as I work that may need to be built up. So once I establish that division of the cheek and the lip, I can see that it looked a little funny where the edge of the mouth was relative to the cheek compared to my reference photos. So I built up a little clay there. And I'm starting to get something that looks much more structural, you can see, on this side versus the other side. There's obviously a lot more that I could do to this, but I'm going to stop there for now. When you come into next class, you will be working on refining all of the forms within your overall form. You want to keep the top of your head open up until the very last moment because that allows you to get inside and add things or smooth things out as needed. You don't have to close the top of the head, but if you do decide that you want to put a crown on the top of the head, build hair onto your sculpture, anything like that, it will be the last thing you do, and you'll do that either by rolling out another small slab and joining it or by building it up with coils. That's it for now. Make sure you do the homework assignment that is in BB Learn under homework in the left menu. That is due during the second day of class for you this week. So for Monday, Wednesday people, it is due Wednesday before class. For Tuesday, Thursday people, it is due Thursday before class. Have a good one, and I will see you soon.